In the 1960s, there was a theory that all particles with mass interact with a field spread across the universe which gives them that mass called the Higgs field. Years later, in 2012, at the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, some of the very smartest monkeys on this planet threw two particles together at 99.99999% the speed of light, and out came what we now call the Higgs boson. Just 200 years ago, we were beginning to understand what an atom might have been. 200 years before that, Newton proposed his theory of gravity, which compared to modern science is the equivalent of a newborn understanding if mummy does peekaboo, then she is just hiding behind her own hands and has not actually disappeared into the abyss. One of the more ridiculous parts of maths and science is that despite some things being common sense, if there isn't an undeniable equation, then it is only theory or a paradox, such as Goldbach's conjecture, where every natural number greater than 2 is the sum of two prime numbers. An extent of theory is a less established idea that can amount to nonsense but is currently unfalsifiable. For example, if we cannot see beyond the veil of our observable universe, then we cannot conservatively apply our laws to what may lie beyond that curtain. Perhaps beyond that point is just the spirit of David Lynch drinking a cocktail with the embodiment of reality as they laugh at the notion of a concurrent story, carelessly plucking at another fabric of reality that minutely distorts the eyes of a husky to be 0.0005% a lighter shade of blue. I mean, just look at them, how are they that fucking blue? Aside from absurdism, there are two more prevailing theories. Firstly, the universe is finite, no curvature, and in the shape of a torus or a Klein bottle, or whatever weird shapes you see if you've rubbed your eyes a little too hard, growing into nothing but not increasing in mass. Our small section of the universe representing a ruler, being flat in comparison to the curvature of the Earth. In this theory, what we learn from our observable universe most likely appears in abundance, millions or billions of times over, but nothing to get too existential about. Go put the kettle on, pick out 3 rich teas, and play some more Big Think Brian Cox interviews that give you that funny feeling of curiosity. Secondly, infinity. An unending Goliath of never to be discovered, encompassing all probabilities into a definite certainty. An unconquerable expanse, where the word creation comes second only to already having been created. The guarantee of if space stops expanding and you go into the dark, you will eventually pass an exact replica of the Earth endlessly. Everything has been everything and will become everything else again, in a never-ending dance macabre of what the fuck is going on-ism, expanding into the expansion without end. The idea that we are close to discovering all the secrets of the universe is narrow-minded. There will likely always be something more to think about, and something else we can discover. If there are fields that span everything, and if there are quantumly entangled particles that behave instantaneously, i.e. breaking the speed limit, then we know Einstein was wrong, and God does in fact play dice, or Twister, or even fucking patchworks. If there are exact replicas of ourselves moving in the same way we are now, maybe there is a field that connects the two. Maybe there is another that connects each slight variation of yourself, and unconsciously we interact with it, leading to our idea of intuition or déjà vu, your consciousness knowing what comes next because your consciousness has experienced it before. As I write this laying in bed in a half-dreaming state, almost feeling the existence of the same me in another body, almost reaching out into the field of consciousness that surrounds ourselves, but one we can only interact with on the plane of universal conscience itself. I can't help but wonder if our minds may be capable of more than we realize. The placebo of limitation that we may have placed on ourselves may just be a strong enough belief away from an ability to feel the tides that hold together reality itself. Maybe I'm just too tired, too eccentric, and the only force pulling on me is that of my head to my pillow. But doesn't everyone have a small memory as a child where they did something impossible? Don't get me twisted, I'm not a hippie that thinks modern physics is a lie by Big CERN to keep us in our lane. I find physics, maths, philosophy and history to be constantly fascinating, and I hope one day I can talk semi-competently about any one. but in my flawed human mind, the idea of the supernatural tickles behind the ear like a loose thread waiting to be pulled. The idea of consciousness may be that of a complex computer, but somewhere within it is a unique humanity, a collection of anxious synapses and sleep-deprived electrical signals that differentiate every person that has walked the planet. A caterpillar dissolves itself within a chrysalis, becoming a soup of base components before reforming into a butterfly. If its brain is dissolved into that soup, yet it retains memory after coming back together, maybe its consciousness lives within something less physical. Maybe once we die, that's what our minds are given back to, such as the brain is given back to the dirt. Science has always been right until we discover a better theory of the world. Everything is particles, but those particles are actually waves, and only when you're not watching the shy bastards. But actually scrap that and zoom in. Look, everything is fundamentally a broken bit of spaghetti stuck to the bottom of a pan, wiggling to its own tune and wearing a fucking sombrero. But scrap that again, everything is nothing and it's all functionally a probability that the universe is arranged in this particular order at this particular picosecond. And if the rules of reality decide to take the bank holiday off, then our entire concept of this universe would collapse, leaving behind nonsense that we are so restricted with our little monkey brains that it would be impossible to comprehend. So go bananas, throw things against the wall, take pride in the fact that you're a mammal never meant to learn that it was so alone in this existence. Drink to oblivion, abandon all hope, risk burning civilization to the ground. It was never ours to begin with. Don't look beyond the scope of infinity. The human need to achieve greatness is more of a suggestion for billionaires to buy more islands and eat pizza at their leisure. And if greatness does exist, we must have learnt in the past 2,000 years that it isn't on this planet. And if that need to strive and survive cannot be satisfied with the limits of Earth, why wouldn't we go beyond? Why wouldn't we try? Let us pack our bags and spread into the cosmos, planting the essence of our humanity before the expansion of the universe turns the sky dark, and our chance to explore ultimately becomes a petrol station, miles in the rear view, where we didn't get our snacks for the journey ahead. We can't go on once we stop moving. Once all that surrounds us is dust, dust is all we are, and dust is all we can be. But what do I know? And what do you know either? To you, I'm just a guy reading a script, encoded and uploaded to a screen. To me, you're a Word document, the idea of an audience not yet reached unless a finished video is made. And if we are not flesh to each other, then how can we be anything at all?